Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of The Nation here on the Outlaw Nation channel. I was having some issues with my wires and my cords here on the channel here. Hope you all are doing well. Happy Oscars nomination day. I didn't get up at 5:30 this morning to take a look at the nominations. So I was like, you know what? I'm not being nominated, so why would I get up at 5:30 in the morning? I know some pundits did. Shout out to you all, especially those of you on the East Coast. It's not a big deal to get up by 8:30 in the morning, get in the shower, get prepped, have a nice dress or a nice suit on, and do the nominations for your channel. Me personally, 5:30 in the morning, maybe only getting up to see a Liverpool game. That's about the only time I ever get up at 5:30 in the morning. But I'm excited to be jumping in and talking these Oscar nominations with you. A lot of controversy surrounding them, a lot of snubs, some surprises, some really cool things. Like I said in my tweet, like always, every Oscars nomination day is full of joy, happiness, fist pumping surprises, and also disappointment, unfortunately, with some of the decisions. And it's not always shocking, some of the decisions that are made in Hollywood in some of these films and some of these nominations that are handed out in some of these films that are highlighted and celebrated and put into a positive spotlight overall by these Academy members. It's difficult to figure out what the thought process is most of the time when you look at nominations. But I think this year it's even more so because it's so widespread. And this may be in a result of the fact that the Academy has tried to go younger, go more diverse, bring in more people, more international voters. There are 10,000 voters that are listed under the Academy that can vote for all of these categories. It's 10,000 voters. Let that sink in. Now, how many of them actually vote? That's a separate conversation, a separate issue. I've certainly, after 20 plus years of living in Los Angeles, I'd had my experience with many people who have had access to vote for the Academy or to vote for the nominations for the Oscars. Quite a number of them told me that they sometimes hand it off to their assistants. A few of them were assistants who their bosses hand them the ballots to vote, and then they submit the ballot. So it's not always the purest process. It's not always the most authentic process. And certainly we're going to get into the Andrea Riseborough nomination a little bit later for Best Actress to show you that sometimes it goes back to high school popularity contest nonsense sometimes. Not always. I would never want to denigrate the Academy or denigrate the Oscars, because certainly I love and respect and honor the Oscars. I love to watch the Oscars every year. I enjoy it. I wanted to go back to what it was before, the purity and celebration of film and not chasing and hunting ratings. I wanted to go back to doing montages and go back to having fun little songs and skits and whatever. I enjoy that kind of stuff. The more they try to update the Oscars, the more it feels like Frank Sinatra when he used to wear the Nehru jacket at the tail end of the 60s, trying to stay cool and trying to stay hip with the changing counterculture thing, or marrying Mia Farrow. It doesn't feel right. What is classic and should stay classic. When you try to modernize some of this classic stuff, it does not work. And certainly I feel that way about the Oscars. As I said, love and respect and enjoy the Oscars. Watch it every year. And have, of course, strong opinions on one way or the other on the winners and what have you. So let's get into some of these facts surrounding the Oscars. And listen, the Streamlabs, the Super Chats are open. I'm just going to hang out for an hour with you all live here. I'm in the middle of my lunch, but I stopped because I realized what time it was to jump in and have this conversation with you all. Feel free to send in Streamlabs and Super Chats. It's pinned there or should be pinned there in the chat in just a second, but it's in the description and what have you, and it's on the screen as well if you want to send in any support for this. And I think, Travis Earl, you already sent one in, so let me take a look at yours and read it out here for people to maybe have an opinion on. And if you all have strong opinions, some of you are already coming after me on Twitter, what else is new, with your opinions about my thoughts on Fablemans and Till, and the Woman King. Travis Earl says, the question on everybody's mind is, who gets the slap this year? Very funny, Travis. No one will get the slap this year. And unfortunately, that slap, I think, cost Will Smith, because I thought he was fantastic in Emancipation. I thought the cinematography in Emancipation was incredible. And I was hoping to see more from the Academy, to have some guts maybe to try to nominate Will Smith, but unfortunately they did not. I enjoyed his performance very much in the film, and look forward to everybody getting the fuck over it already, moving on from that slap and we have a better approach to things going on in the Academy and in the voting situation for sure. All right, let's throw out some facts here for you all. Thanks so much to the 50 of you who are joining me right now live. I appreciate it madly. Please make sure you hit a like on this video. I would appreciate that. And leave a comment down below if you're watching later as well. But let's hit some of these facts here. There are 3 blockbusters that made the Best Picture cut. That's one of the fantastic things about the nominations here. 8 films received at least 5 nominations. So as I said, it's kind of spreading it around a little bit. Then first-time nominees filled 16 of the 20 acting slots. That's fantastic. First-time nominees. You know, Jeff Snyder on the hot mic likes to crow about, well, you need to put in your time. They need to get to know you. They need to blah, blah, but none of that applies to Paul Mescal, does it? I mean, that's the thing that's fantastic and kind of destroys that myth that the Academy needs to know you and see a body of your work before they consider voting you. Everything is a case-by-case basis when it comes to that with the Academy. Everything Everywhere All at Once led the way with 11 nominations. 11 nominations. That's incredible. The Banshees of Inisherin and All Quiet on the Western Front had 9 nominations each. Let me stop for a moment here. All Quiet on the Western Front, I am so happy for that film. As I said, sometimes the Academy recognizes a film and it's a fist-pumping moment. That was a fist-pumping moment for me and I think that film has been criminally overlooked by so many critics and so many pundits, by the audiences themselves who have not gone and watched this thing on Netflix because, oh, I don't want to watch a film with subtitles. I don't want to watch a film from the German point of view in World War I. Yet it's a classic novel. The original adaptation of the film did well back, I think, in the 30s when they brought that one out. And this one, I think, is fantastic. The cinematography, the war scenes, the anti-war sentiment throughout the whole movie, and the harrowing experiences that you see throughout the movie. You know, as incredible as 1917 was for showing us this journey of 2 English soldiers trying to get to the front lines so they can stop a attack from happening and all these lives being sacrificed for that attack. This film, in another way, shows you how easy it is when you're young and you're caught up in the fervor of wanting to serve your country, how you can be manipulated by that country to serve in the worst causes. You know, and I think I think is a very topical film as we see young people being appealed to and recruited to become part of causes, to become a part of organizations, to become part of companies that have nefarious purposes or nefarious means. So there's so much more going on rather than just the surface story. There's so much topicality to it. I also thought the score was fantastic. Some of the beats there, some of the music that's being used in All Quiet on the Western Front is modernized music that still fits and evokes the true terror and horror that is going on throughout that whole movie when it comes to war and experiencing war as a young man, all wide-eyed and all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and what war actually means when you get into it. Also, Elvis, I was so happy to see this, had 8 nominations. I thoroughly loved Elvis. I have it in 4K thanks to one of my patrons who sent it to me as a birthday gift. I'm so excited to see that it got 8 nominations. I was seeing a little bit of a backlash from people saying, oh, I don't really like that movie, or I'm not a Baz Luhrmann fan, or I don't like how he directed that film. And I think that film is fantastic. And of course, on the heels of Lisa Marie Presley sadly passing away at the young age of 54 years old, recently seeing Austin Butler get nominated for Best Actor for playing Elvis, I thought was a fantastic thing to happen as well in these nominations. As I said, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences has about 10,000 members. They work to diversify their ranks here by gender, race, and nationality. Another good thing that happened through these nominations, Angela Bassett became the first actor from a Marvel film to be nominated and recognized for her supporting role in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And pretty incredible, the first actor to be nominated for Best Actor, or Best Supporting Actor rather, for an Academy Award is a Black actor, a female Black actor from the Marvel Universe, just as Black Panther was the first Marvel film, a Black film, to be nominated for Best Picture. So fantastic stuff there. And of course, she was nominated in the past for What's Love Got to Do with It. She also took home the Golden Globe and the Critics' Choice Award for Supporting Actress. So a lot of people think she's the odds-on favorite here. Brian Tyree Henry was a surprising nomination as well for Best Supporting Actor for Causeway. That he is so good in that movie. If you haven't seen Causeway on Apple TV, I cannot recommend it enough. him and Jennifer Lawrence, who also should have been nominated, are just stellar performers in that movie. The journey they're both going on, Jennifer Lawrence much more than Brian Tyree Henry, obviously, which is why he's supporting. I thought was just fantastic to dive into and feel. You know, it reminded me of these old school 1990s, early 2000s Southern independent type films like Yuli's Gold and these other films where you kind of, what was the one with Andy McDowell where she's, I think, paralyzed and Alfred Woodard is helping her? I can't remember the name of that movie, but those are those kinds of films that I really enjoy seeing because you see some phenomenal performances from some fantastic actors. Certainly Brian Tyree Henry did a stellar job in this movie, as did Jennifer Lawrence as well. Also, Hong Chow being nominated for The Whale. Oh, for Best Supporting Actress. I'm super happy with that because I loved The Whale. I thought it deserved all kinds of accolades. And unfortunately, I think at the end of the day, it didn't get that many. But Hong Chow being nominated for Best Supporting Actress she is such the emotional center of that movie. Yes, you've got what the Brendan Fraser's character is going through. You got what Sadie Sink is going through in relation as the daughter of Brendan Fraser in that movie. But what Hong Chow brings, that's where what Brendan Fraser is doing to himself, you see it all mapped out in Hong Chow's performance, how much she loves him, how much she's connected to him, and you find out what the relationship is that she had with him and why she is so determined to also be a caregiver and also help him on this path to eventual self-destruction. It is a incredible performance, a tight wire of a performance, and I'm so happy that it got recognized by the Academy. 7 actors of color were nominated after only 4 actors were nominated last year. So we're seeing, more opportunities, getting more recognition here from the Academy. Unfortunately, on the directing side of things, we essentially had 4 white men get nominated and then 1 white man and 1 Asian man there, the Daniels for Everything Everywhere All at Once get nominated. So that was a category where the Academy really kind of dropped the ball, in my opinion, and we'll get to some of the snubs on that side of things. But it's not about like, oh, white man bad. It's not about that. It's about the idea of like, are you really telling me honestly that you thought these films were better than some of the female directed films? And I don't think that's the case, in my opinion. Sarah Polley was left out, even though she was nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay. Gina Prince Bythewood didn't get nominated for The Woman King. And, I tweeted out what I said about The Woman King. I think The Woman King and Till were in your face blackness that you could not look away from. It was not that fuzzy, feel good, Green Book nonsense. It was authentic, in your face, talking about slavery, the danger of slavery, the perils of slavery, the destruction within a community pursuing that path, and also the racism and the destruction of that community from the racism and destruction of lives from the racism in our not so distant past. So I think both of those films were, a little too much for these, in my opinion, at times, a little too soft liberals who don't like it to be too aggressive and in their face, and so they don't vote for it. They want that feel-good, touchy-feely nonsense of Green Book over the authentic stuff like Do the Right Thing, which they'll throw a screenplay Oscar towards, but in no way will they nominate for a Best Picture or put the stars up there to be nominated for Best Actress or Best Actor or Best Supporting Actress even. So just surprising on so many levels to see that kind of stuff happen. Still in 2023, we're still having these fucking battles. And of course, the director of Till, a black woman as well, a Nigerian American, Chinonwe Chukwu, she wasn't nominated either for Best Director. Mandy Walker, though, on the female side of things, this is a positive, became the 3rd woman ever nominated for Best Cinematographer for her work on Elvis. And I thought the cinematography at Elvis was stellar. So great to see her getting recognition for that as well. Rachel Morrison was the previous female who was nominated for Best Cinematographer for her work in Mudbound. And before that, it was, let me correct myself. Ari Wegner for The Power of the Dog last year was nominated for Best Cinematography. She was the most recent female. And then before that, it was Rachel Morrison with Mudbound. And there was only 3. Ladies and gentlemen, 2023, and only 3 women have been nominated for Best Cinematographer ever in the history of the Academy Awards. How far do we need to go? Or do we still need to go yet as a populace, as a film loving populace? How far do we still need to go in Hollywood to make sure there are more opportunities for women, for people of color, behind the camera as well as in front of the camera. Michelle Yeoh, of course, nominated for Best Actress. This is how she summed it up. She said, 95 years of Oscars. Of course, I'm over the moon, but I feel a little sad because we know there have been amazing actresses from Asia that have come before me, and I stand on their shoulders. I hope this will shatter that friggin' glass ceiling to no end, that this will continue, and we will see more of our faces up there. And of course, more Asians this year were nominated than in any other year at the Academy Awards. So that's something certainly incredible to celebrate, especially on the heels of the recent shooting that happened in California. Just heartbreaking to see that the Asian community being attacked again, even by someone within their own community. It's just sad to see that happening. And we've seen way too many examples of the Asian hate spurred on, of course, by bigoted assholes at the top of the power pile, spewing that nonsense that motivates people, unstable people, to unleash their anger on unsuspecting Asian people. And so, fuck that nonsense, fuck that ridiculousness. So I'm happy to see that the Academy is recognizing so many people of Asian descent in these categories and giving them nominations. And speaking of nominations, one last fact here: Disney had 22 nominations overall. They led the way. Netflix led the way last year. This year, coming up with 16 only, which is not bad for a streaming service, for God's sakes. And 9 of those, I think, are for All Quiet on the Western Front. So there you go. But Disney had 22 nominations overall, because you look at Marvel, that's part of Disney. Searchlight is part of Disney. So that's under the umbrella there as well. So let's take a look at some of these nominations as we break them down here. I'll bring them up as a graphic on the screen. I got 70 watching us right now. I appreciate that madly. Thank you so much for joining me. Please, as I said, remember, hit a like on this video. Let me pin in the chat if any of you want to send any Streamlabs. I know that Travis Earl already sent a Streamlab, which I appreciate madly. But if any want to support what we got going on here on the Outlaw Nation channel, you can do so by sending in a Streamlab. You can also join the Patreon, patreon.com/John Rocha. That's another thing you can do to support what I've got. If you support my voice, if you support me coming out and spitting my truth here out into the world, supporting me on Patreon is a great way to do that. We got multiple tiers with multiple benefits for you to take a look at. So please feel free to do that today if you'd like. And again, it's patreon.com/John Rocha. All right, there it is. Let's see here. Let me pin it in the chats, and then we'll be good to go. And I'll also put it in the description of this video real quick, so that if anybody wants to do that, they can do so looking at it there. So, all right. And then we'll get into these nominations here in just a second. All right. 36 likes right now, but 82 you're watching me live. So hit that like button. Take 2 seconds and swing over there and hit that like button. All right. Let's take a look at this thing here. Let's start with Best Picture. All right. Best Picture right there. All Quiet on the Western Front. Avatar: The Way of Water. The Banshees of Inisherin. Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, Top Gun Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking. An incredible list of films as well. Incredible amount of talent behind the camera there with those films and the production teams. But for me, I got to be honest with you, love that All Quiet on the Western Front was nominated. Avatar: The Way of Water was a bit of a surprise. I didn't think people would come around on that. I know it made $2 billion. I know that the previous, currently at $2 billion. I know the previous Avatar was nominated, but I wasn't sure that the sequel was going to be nominated as well. And man, it surprised me by getting that. Very happy to see Banshees of Inisherin. Wasn't surprised by that. Elvis, I wasn't sure if the Academy was going to respond to Elvis. As I said, some of the most recent criticisms weren't all that positive about Elvis. So that was great to see. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Fantastic to see. The Fabelmans, that's where I start to fall apart for me. I just do not like that movie. I think it's a bit self-indulgent. I think it's a bit about, hey, a fuzzy view of America. And I get that we're exploring the mental health issues of his mom. But to me, I just think it didn't quite go all the way with it. And there's too much mystery or unexplained or too much surface in its approach to this actually really intense issue that I thought Steven Spielberg got away with a movie like this. West Side Story is a much better film, a much more well-directed film, and much more symbolic of the talent that still residing inside the great Steven Spielberg. And he is the great Steven Spielberg. And just because I criticize The Fablemans does not mean I don't appreciate and love Steven Spielberg as a filmmaker. It's just that I think this is one of his more middling efforts that did absolutely nothing for me. And look, I watched it twice. I watched it once and I just did not like it. I reached out to some of my Jewish friends because I've heard from critics and pundits that, oh, you got to be Jewish to get it. And so I called them and I asked them, did you watch this film? And they said yes. And almost to a person, they all said it was okay, or it was middling or mid type of film. So then I was like, well, then I need to see it again because I need to be very clear about my feelings on the movie. And I powered through it, and I had to power through it to finish it. And I was even more adamant about the fact that I just do not think it's a good Steven Spielberg film. You know, I throw it in. It's not 1941, but it's one of those films. It doesn't 100% like Empire of the Sun for me doesn't 100% get there. Even though it's got a great performance of Christian Bale and John Malkovich and a number, I think Paul Reiser's in that as well. I think a number of good actors are in that movie. It's just kind of, it's hard to connect to. And I felt that way about The Fablemans. And there was a lot of just performances that were kind of like, what is happening here? Although I will say the scene with John Ford, David Lynch playing John Ford, that was the standout scene of the movie. But that's like at the end of the film. So for me, it didn't just work at all for me. Tar is a whole separate conversation. I love to see Top Gun Maverick. I love that it broke through, as we said, 3 blockbusters in Best Picture. Triangle of Sadness, I have not seen yet. I saw that trailer. I don't want to see an hour and 45 minutes of puking, so I'm real hesitant to watch Triangle of Sadness, but I suppose I will make my way to it. Women Talking here being nominated as well. So for me, the snubs, when you look at this, and I think you can move off well, I mean, for me, right? I immediately think Fablemans, from my own experience having watched it. Triangle of Sadness, I haven't watched it, but maybe I'd move that off. Here are the snubs for me. She Said, which I think is getting an unfair dismissal by a majority of critics and pundits, and some of the people who consider themselves knowledgeable about films trying to tell me it's an HBO movie. What the fuck are you talking about? Are you stupid? Like, that to me is insane to look at this film as some kind of TV movie done on HBO. Ridiculous. That film is so well directed. The pacing of the film is so well done. The editing of the film is so well done. The way Maria shoots the film. I mean, she is fantastic in how Maria Schrader, how she directs the film, places the camera, moves you through these scenes. The scene between Samantha Morton and Zoe Kazan in London at the diner table, the back and forth there is chilling. Having her walk behind, that's the kind of brilliance of a filmmaker. Too many people reduce their minds to think something is a TV movie if it's not like some scope epic thing with fuzzy dissolves and all, messing with lighting. And it's just so ridiculous to me how some people view films and don't really understand the theatrical experience of some of these films. The shots inside the newspaper were incredible with Patricia Clarkson and Andre Brower there. The conversations on the phone, shooting the scene where Carey Mulligan is by herself talking with Weinstein's legal team, or I think the paper's legal team possibly, and it goes silent. No, it's Weinstein's legal team, and it goes silent. That is a brilliant decision by a filmmaker that works to make that film so powerful. Playing the voiceover as we're seeing this woman walking to her eventual rape, or as we're moving through the hallway, as we hear her actual words as she's describing what is happening to her and how Harvey is foisting himself upon her. Unsettling. The shots of the scenes with Ashley Judd are incredible. The real Ashley Judd talking about what she really experienced and the tension and the drama behind that. Some of the scenes where Zoe Kazan and Carey Mulligan are speaking with the people who are either willing to talk about it, had no idea about it, or are trying to shut the door on it all. Just incredible film. I don't know why people aren't giving it more love. It makes no sense to me. And please, foolishness to call it just a TV movie. That's a limited thinking person right there. The Woman King is another one. What a fantastic film. And as I said, a film that is very much in your face, dealing with the issue of slavery. I mean, Viola Davis transformed her body. Look at her in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and look at her in The Woman King and tell me that isn't a phenomenal transformation and also an incredible performance. There is so much passion and fire and soul, for lack of a better term, inside her performance. And she is essentially using this film to be a guideline for young, up and coming African American people and she is trying to pave the way and show them the way and teach them the way to survive in this world. So it's a great great connection to the topicality of our world, but also her performance is absolutely stellar. We see her go in this emotional journey. She has an arc. She goes toe to toe with the king, who's played wonderfully by John Boyega. Lashana Lynch is incredible in the movie. I'm sorry, I don't have the young actress who plays like the main character who has a connection to Viola Davis's character. When Viola Davis finds out what that connection is, that is one of the most incredibly well acted scenes of the entire year. And yet she doesn't get nominated. The film doesn't get nominated. And Gina Prince Bythewood doesn't get nominated for Best Director. It's just a fucking travesty on so many levels, in my opinion. Wakanda Forever is another snub. I think I would take Wakanda Forever over The Fabelmans in a heartbeat, even though it's a little bit extra long, even though they shoved in some MCU stuff. I still would take it over The Fabelmans. Glass Onion is another one that I really thoroughly enjoyed. Very inventive script, fantastic performances from everybody in the cast. I like this film better than the first film, and I thought it had more to say. I thought it had more enjoyment within the film itself, and I thought it was very craftily done. And yes, the mystery is obvious, but it's about what's also going on underneath the surface of this obvious mystery between all these people, so that when stuff starts to go down, you're incredibly invested. And Janelle Monáe, who was not nominated, is an actual crime. She was fantastic in that movie, and one of the big reasons to see that movie. I didn't anticipate a Daniel Craig nomination, but Janelle Monáe should have been considered here. And I also think, and this is my own personal favorite, and some of you are going to get upset about it, maybe the 5 of you who watched this film, but I think Bardo should have been nominated for Best Picture as well. I loved Bardo. I thought, if you're going to give me a self-indulgent, pretentious film about a director's life like The Fabelmans was, well, then give me Bardo. Bardo is what I want to see. Bardo pushes the boundaries of cinema, explores what cinema can do. I mean, the dance scene alone, and it was nominated for Best Cinematography, so that's great. But I think director, actor, picture, all of it, I think the film should have gotten way more attention than it got. Yes, the initial one rolled out was 20 minutes extra or 20 minutes longer, and so some critics turned on it and wouldn't revisit the edited version to maybe deliver a more well-rounded critique. And, I guess that's their choice. That's their decision to do so. But I thought Bardo was fantastic. Some of the scenes here that you got in the movie, as I said, the dance hall scene, the scene with the baby stuff, the scene at the end when he's walking and seeing the different generations, the scene when he's talking to the Aztec god and talking about the history of Mexico and talking about the idea of immigration. So for me, it's really spoke to me, this idea of where's your identity. If you've emigrated from another country, are you that country? Or if you've lived long enough in the United States, are you American instead of that other country you came from? And how do your children relate to that, who are born to you, but they essentially lived in both countries at the same time? So it's just a fantastic exploration of all of that. And by the way, a director who's in transition in his life. Some of these scenes are some of the most incredibly well done scenes I've seen in film in quite some time. And it pushed the boundaries and it took big swings. And I'll take that over this Norman Rockwellian feel-good Fabelmans, or attempt to tell some kind of deep story that really has very little depth to it, in my opinion. Again, no offense to the great Steven Spielberg. It just didn't work for me. All right, see if I got any Streamlabs that have come through here. Doug Developer says, fun but unfortunate fact, when Ke Huy Quan wins an Oscar, he will be the first professional Asian actor to win an Oscar, leading or supporting. As great as Hang S. Noor was in The Killing Fields, he was never really an actor, so it's about damn time. Yeah, it's a great point. Great point, Doug, for sure. And of course, Best Supporting Actor will come before Best Actor, so there's a real possibility. Look, there's a real possibility that Best Supporting Actress goes to an Asian actress, Best Actress goes to an Asian actress, and Best Supporting Actor goes to an Asian actor. So there's a real possibility, and we'll get to those categories in just a minute here. How many have I got? 124 you watch me right now. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Please hit a like on this video. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel down below. Would appreciate that. I'm trying to get to 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. That's right. I put an insane goal out there to get to 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So please help me do that. I will be talking more and more film throughout 2023. I'm going to try to see so many things and review them. Does it mean that I'll get to 50,000 doing that? No, I'll have to go to the bigger stuff and create videos for the bigger stuff. But I promise you, my promise to you in 2023 is that you will see John Rocha reviewing more films and TV shows than you've ever seen him do before in 2022 or 2021. This is how we advance the channel in 2023. That is my focus, and that was what I'm going to do. So, all right, Jonas Rueda. Yeah, exactly. Bardo is the Mexican 8.5, right? Fellini's 8.5. Absolutely, it is that. It's very good, but I do think it is too self-indulgent for the members of the Academy. You're right. They probably didn't get it. They got the Fablemans, but for some reason they didn't get Bardo. It was too much to ask of them to get Bardo, and I think that speaks volumes about the Academy than it does about these films. And I think that's important to remember. These are subjective opinions, subjective nominations. I don't think they carry the same weight as they used to carry back in the 70s and the 80s and even the 90s. Nowadays, people are like, well, I'm going to like what I like. I don't care what the Academy says. And to be honest with you, I kind of appreciate that. I got no problem with that. All right, let's see here. Let's see. Clay say, oh, my brother Clay Major in here says, I saw everything everywhere with my daughter who is gay and has serious mother issues. It's not just an Asian film. It has a deeply personal and moving message at its weird core. Absolutely, Clay. I agree with you 100%. I saw that movie. I'm not Asian, and I was an emotional mess by the end of the film because of the journey that this family goes through. This family, this mother and father and daughter, and what they go through, and the conversations, and the husband and wife, what they go through this process, and the symbolism of it all, creating a multiverse in essence without needing to give you 25 films ahead of time to create a multiverse, creating multiverse within the film itself to get you to dial into all of it and connect to what's happening and connect to the story. And of course, that all comes back to the phenomenal performances of the actors and the writers of the film and the directors, the Daniels as well. There's all of that in combo, creating one of the best experiences of the film. So when people try to come at me and tell me, well, you don't get the Fablemans because you're not Jewish, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter, for the love of God. I should still be able to connect to the universal aspects of it all. And it didn't. And I didn't. So there you go. All right. Let's see. Let's move on to, well, actually, let's take a quick break. I don't have a graphic for this break, so I'm just going to, I don't know. I'm just going to stop for a second. I should have put a graphic up, and maybe I'll do that in a little bit when I do the Canva, but I'll be right back right after this. All right, let's move on to the next thing. Let's move on to Best Actor here. Let me bring that up on the screen for you all to take a look at here. Where did I put that thing? Oh my God, did I forget to upload it? I probably forgot to upload it. So give me just a second because I've got Best Actor here. Let it upload just a second, and then I'll bring it up on the screen for us to take a look at. Here we go. Best Actor: Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Paul Mescal for After Sun, and Bill Nighy for Living. Interesting combination of actors there. And certainly for me, I think it's odds-on favorite that Brendan Fraser is going to win this thing. But you never know about the Colin Farrell situation. And there's been such a backlash to The Whale because, as I mentioned, it was not nominated for Best Picture. I didn't mention, rather, in the 8 nominees, The Whale was not nominated. And I think that was also a snub. I thought The Whale was fantastic. I'll see The Whale over The Fablemans any day of the week and twice on Sunday, for God's sake. So I thought it was an actual crime that The Whale wasn't nominated. Some people push back on The Whale and saying it's not a good depiction of a person in that condition. That is just one person in that condition. They are not speaking about every person in that. Stop bringing your shit to the movie. It is not about your shit. That's about that one person in that movie going through a singular experience in their life and the reasons why they're in that condition. You know, if you want to respect the journey, you have to respect everyone's journey who's in that condition. They were not making a commentary about people in that condition. The film is about that one person in that condition. And as someone who's struggled with their weight my entire life, in fact, I'm the heaviest I've been. It's why I've been working hard over the last 6 weeks to lose weight. I understand what it's like to feel like you're this big, colossal person and all that kind of jazz, and what it does to you and how it affects you and why you overeat, why you indulge in the snacks, what happens for you, what the self-destructive nature of it all. I absolutely understand that. So to me, it spoke to me on so many levels. And I thought Brendan Fraser's performance was stellar, absolutely stellar. And I hope it wins, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Academy threw a curveball and Colin Farrell slides into this thing and wins. Surprising that Paul Mescal got the nomination here for After Sun. I don't know too many people who've seen After Sun. He's an Irish actor. Jeff Snyder and I on the hot mic have mentioned how many franchises have already reached out to him to ask him to be a part of their franchises like Gladiator and a couple other things as well. But a good feather in the young actor's cap to be nominated this early in his career. I think he's 24 for After Sun, which I have not seen. So I've got the screener sitting right there. So I got to catch up on a number of things. For me, Tom Cruise, that's the snub right there. I'm not sure what Bill Nighy did in Living. I haven't seen Living either, but can it really be better than anything else Bill Nighy has done in like 100 other movies? I don't know. I'm going to have to watch it and find out. But for me, I'm really finding it really hard to believe that. Just like Alan Arkin in Little Miss Sunshine, there was nothing he did in Little Miss Sunshine that he hadn't done in 40 other movies. Eddie Murphy deserved that Oscar that year, the best supporting actor, for what he did in Dreamgirls. That was a performance, for God's sakes, we'd never seen from Eddie Murphy. The Alan Arkin performance we'd seen a million times in numerous other films. And I think people went with sentimentality, unfortunately, rather than honestly judging the acting performance between those two. Tom Cruise is the biggest snub here. Everyone's talking about it. What more can I add? He was incredible in the film. He was damn good in those moments. I think too many of these self-important actors who are in the Academy look past a movie star like Tom Cruise and insult his abilities or have issues with the fact that he's such a huge movie star. He is a damn good fucking actor. Like Sylvester Stallone, these actors who get vilified because they happen to be successful at levels that most of these other actors will never sniff. They get vilified as being lesser than. And I don't think Tom Cruise is one of those. Magnolia, Born on the 4th of July. There are a number of other films where he's really delivered fantastic performances. Even Oblivion has some really interesting moments between him and Andrea Riseborough, who's also been nominated, which we'll get to. So I like him as an actor. And when he dials into the vulnerability, the honesty, that scene when he, as I said this before, that scene when he's looking through the window and he's seeing Rooster play Great Balls of Fire like Goose used to do, there's an actual break inside of him that you see, like, wow, all the things that he's lost, how time has passed, how he misses his best friend still all these decades later. That scene with him and Val Kilmer, my God, what a scene. The emotional power of that scene isn't just Val Kilmer typing on the thing. It is the interactions between, the looks on his face back and forth with him and Val. Those are two good actors really delivering a fantastically moving performance. And the scene where he climbs out of the house, leaving Jennifer Connelly up there, thinking he's going to elude the being caught by Connelly's daughter. And when he lands right there in front of the kitchen, in front of the sink outside, and looks up and sees that her daughter is right there looking at him, the absolute, like, just shock and shame and embarrassment. And then she says to him, just don't hurt her again. That's what she says. As a young girl of that age, understanding that her mother has actually suffered at the hands of this man because of his on again, off again inability to commit type of thing. And she's calling him out on it. And he takes it in. And you see Tom Cruise take it in. It is fantastic. And the scene with him and Rooster later on when he has to tell him about what he did and pulled his papers and all this kind of thing, and all this, and later when he's talking to Jennifer, or earlier in the film, he's talking to Jennifer Connelly, and he tells her how he had to keep him from getting into the service or being selected or whatever because the Naval Academy, because his mother asked him to, and he never reveals to him that it was his mother who asked him to do it. So there's so much of an emotional journey going on in that movie. I thought it's unfair for Tom Cruise not to be nominated because he's a movie star, and that old ass fucking gripe that you see from some self-important actors in life. All right, let's move on to Best Lead Actress. Let's move on to that one here next. Got 130 of you joining right now. Thank you so much. Appreciate the chat being lively. Love the chat being lively. Appreciate you all hanging out. Please hit that like button as we're going here. I've been talking for 45 minutes straight. That's right. The Outlaw goes and goes, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Best Actress here. Cate Blanchett for Tar. No surprise. Anna de Armas for Blonde. Massive fucking surprise. Andrea Riseborough for To Leslie, which I never even heard about until last week. Michelle Williams for The Fablemans. Woof. Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Look, I personally want Michelle Yeoh to win this one, of course, and I hope she does win this one. But I know this is a Meryl Streep, Viola Davis situation where Cate Blanchett might actually win this one. Cate Blanchett, a lot of people are pushing that regardless of color, that is the best performance. I think it's split down the middle. We're going to see who ends up eking this one out 51 to 49%. I hope Michelle Yeoh wins, but it's not in the bag as much as people think it is. But the shock here are the two I mentioned. Ana de Armas being nominated I want to support all Latina actresses, all Latino actors, but I also got to be honest, that performance, I don't know, that movie is like climbing up a mountain, man. It really is just a slog to get through. And you want to talk about pretentious, that's the Netflix pretentious movie, not Bardo. It's fucking Blonde, that's for sure. And I just could not shake that this is Ana de Armas playing cosplay. I know that she was dialed in and really focused on delivery, but at no point, not even for a second, did I think this was Marilyn Monroe. Not even for a second. Whereas I believed it with like Ashley Judd in that TV movie she did for HBO, or I believed it when Michelle Williams did it for My Week with Marilyn at certain moments. I bought it, but not with Ana de Armas. So I'm really surprised by this nomination. It's a divisive film, but hey, the Academy went out on a limb and nominated her. She's a Latina actress, so I do support the nomination. I just 100% agree with the nomination. I hope people can make that delineation there, the nuance there. Andrea Riseborough is the big surprise. And this is where you start to wonder about this kind of thing, because from all the stories coming out, it's because a bunch of white actresses got on the phone and got on their Rolodex and shook the tree to get people to nominate Andrea Riseborough. And that bothers me when you look at the fact that Viola Davis wasn't nominated for Woman King. She was phenomenal. Daniel Deadwyler wasn't nominated for Till. And Margot Robbie, in my opinion, if you're going to go with a white actress, she was stellar in Babylon. I thought she should have been nominated for Best Actress for Babylon. So just surprising that this is the path they walk down. And I wonder how many of these actresses understood or maybe willingly turned a blind eye that they were lobbying for yet another white member of their core, white colleague, to possibly take a nomination away from a woman of color actress when they get so fewer opportunities to showcase what they can do. I mean, Gina Prince Bythewood and Viola Davis had to force this film to get made. And so, yeah, I'm happy that she's good in some film that 5 people have seen, Andrea Riseborough. I'm not insulting her as an actress. I love her as an actress. Great in Birdman, fantastic in Oblivion, and a number of other films. Certainly a damn good actress. I think Christian Harloff interviewed her for this film on his channel. If you want to watch that interview, I think she's great. Mark Maron is in the movie with her, and he did the interview with her and kind of brought up the spotlight on her. But it speaks volumes that merit alone wasn't enough to get this through the door, that other high-powered white actresses had to open up their Rolodex, make calls, and shake the tree, and willingly cause a woman of color actress not to be nominated. That's the after effect. You cannot remove the result or the consequence from the action. You can't. And so to me, it just bothers me on so many levels. It would have been nice. And just straight up, Michelle Williams, in no way did I think that was a good performance by her. And I love Michelle Williams as an actress and so many things. She's conquered multiple genres. How many people saw her coming out of Dawson's Creek and being the one to come out of Dawson's Creek and be incredible? And she is. But I just did not connect to anything she was doing in The Fablemans. I found that to be such a weird, off-putting performance. And not because of the mental health stuff, because you all know I know about the mental health stuff. It just didn't work for me. Whereas Viola Davis worked for me, Daniel Deadwyler worked for me, and Margot Robbie worked for me. So just sad to see them being snubbed in this category for sure. All right, let's move on to, let's see what people got. Yeah, I know, Clay, showing my age. Absolutely. Yeah, good point, Jonas. You said that, would you put Williams should be in supporting, not the lead? Yeah, exactly. They moved this around. To have her be best actress and best supporting actress. That film is not about her. She's not the best actress in the movie. She is the female lead in that she has more screen time than any of the women in the film, but she's not the lead of the film. The kid is the lead of the film. And so to me, it was really surprising how they kind of finagled this situation. So both of those situations caused two women of color actresses not to be nominated. And that is disgusting, in my opinion. It's flat out. It is disgusting. And it's sad to see that happening in Hollywood. I'm really just fucking ashamed that that's happening in Hollywood, in my opinion. All right, let's see here. Where shall we go next to Best Director? I know I've been going for 15 minutes. So I'm trying to power through these a little bit faster here. Best Director, Martin McDonagh for The Banshees of Inisherin. Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert for Everything Everywhere All at Once, a.k.a. The Daniels. Steven Spielberg for The Fablemans. Todd Field for Tar. And Ruben Östlund for Triangle of for Triangle of Sadness. An interesting combination of directors. You've got an Irish director, you've got an Asian and white director, you've got a Jewish director, you've got Todd Field, I think is a straight white, there's a white director. I don't want to say straight. I don't know what his sexual identity is. And Ruben Östlund was a foreign director as well. So a good combination of directors here for sure. And certainly it showcases how the Academy now, after the last 2 years of having or last few years rather, of having directors from foreign countries being nominated for Best Director, it shows that the Academy is like moving its scope out to look at all these films and nominate some of these foreign-born directors to get these slots. And again, I'll say this, and I've said this on the Hot Mic and other places, I'm so done with the 5-person nomination stuff. There are more films. If we're going to open the door to be more global, for more films to be considered, if streaming is going to bring more films into our purview from foreign countries outside the United States, then we need to increase the number of nominations, because that's the way it goes. With more films, more nominations should equal the more amount of films that we're getting. So it's just frustrating to me that we're limited to 5 constantly in all of these categories. I think we're missing out on recognizing some fantastic directors, and certainly female directors being snubbed all through this category. As I said earlier, Sarah Polley for Women Talking. How does it not get nominated for Best Picture, but it doesn't get nominated for Best Director? And for those of you who've seen Women Talking and She Said, and your response is She Said is a TV film, but Women Talking is somehow, a theatrical masterpiece, please explain that to me. I think that's a better conversation to have down the road. Charlotte Wells wasn't nominated for After Sun, and of course, Paul Mescal being nominated. Hey, someone directed that performance, and that someone is Charlotte Wells. So why aren't we looking at that? The Woman King, again, Gina Prince Bythewood, I thought did a wonderful job, an incredible job, especially with Old Guard, which I thought was a bit uneven. The Netflix film with Charlize Theron there, I thought she did a stellar job with The Woman King. I kept waiting to see the kind of indulgences or the stumbles that at times I've seen in Gina Prince's movies, and none of them were there. So to me, I thought it was a travesty she wasn't nominated. And also Chinonwe Chukwu for Till, as we mentioned, Nigerian-American director, female director, she wasn't nominated for this. And Maria Schrader for She Said, again, an incredibly well-directed film. To me, better than Spotlight, in my opinion, better than Spotlight. I would put on She Said right now on Peacock over Spotlight. It is on Peacock. You guys haven't seen She Said, and a lot of you haven't. I would recommend you all watching it, because I do think a lot of people are talking about this film without having seen this film, and I find that to be very, very curious. But Maria Schrader did an excellent job bringing that situation to life and having you feel the tension and the pain and the sadness and the terror that these women felt at the hands of this fucking monster, who is still hanging around and still in trial and still in court and still doing it. And I'll never let go of the fact that Hollywood didn't want to recognize this movie because they want you to be in love with the idea of making movies. They don't want to recognize the film that exposes the horny old guy behind the curtain who runs Hollywood. They don't want to expose that. So I think that's the sad situation there. All right, let's move on to Best Support. Let's see, what do we got here? Yeah, Spotlight is not so much better, Mike. You're insane. It's kind of boring. Let's see. Best Supporting Actors. Who Best Supporting Actor here? Brendan Gleeson for Banshees of Inisherin. No surprise. Brian Tyree Henry for Causeway. As I said earlier, what a fantastic nomination for Brian Tyree Henry. Is so good in that movie. Judd Hirsch for The Fablemans. I think he's on screen less time than Judi Dench was for Shakespeare in Love. So, okay, fine. Barry Keoghan for the Banshees of Inisherin. Certainly, that was a big push from a lot of people. And Ke Huy Quan for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Certainly, the odds-on favorite is Ke Huy Quan. So I got to drink something there. But interesting to see that. A lot of people saying Paul Dano wasn't recognized here as the best supporting actor for The Fablemans. I liked him in the movie. I certainly liked him in the movie, but I don't know if I don't know if the performance necessarily merited a best supporting actor. So I'm not surprised that he wasn't nominated. I guess they chose between him and The Fablemans, even though they kept Keegan and they kept Brendan Gleeson from the same movie. But an interesting choices all around. But I think this is Ke Huy Quan's Oscar to lose. I think a lot of people want him to be to win this thing for legitimate reasons because he's damn good in that movie, and for sentimental reasons and nostalgic reasons because they love him as a child actor who's grown up and now having the chance to do this. By the way, little fact: did you guys know that he choreographed some of the stunts and fights in the X-Men movie from 2000? Go and find the video. You'll see Ke Huy Quan coordinating or choreographing the fights in that movie. A very young Hugh Jackman there in 2000 being trained by Ke Huy Quan on some of those fights that go on in that movie. So a guy who has stuck around in the industry and not been in the lead or not been in the forefront, but stuck around in the industry, and then boom, his time came. And so much love to him, and I hope he takes that actor home. I don't have too many snubs in that category. Maybe some of you can think of some snubs that you think, but I really enjoyed seeing Brian Tyree Henry get nominated. If you haven't seen Causeway, again, please see that on Apple TV. Let's see here. Let's move on to Best Supporting Actress. Just a reminder, you can send in your Streamlabs and Super Chats as we go along here. Got 150 of you watching me right now. Thank you so much for joining me. Please hit a like on this video and leave a comment down below if you're watching later on as well. I don't know if I'll be able to put time codes on this. I'd have to rewatch the whole thing, but we'll see if I can do it. If anybody wants to go back, I should have asked one of you to write down time codes for me when I jump to the next thing so you can send it to me at the end of the show. But anyway, let's move on to Best Supporting Actress here. We've got Angela Bassett for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Hung Chow for The Whale, which I've already spoken about, Carrie Condon for The Banshees of Inisherin, Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Stephanie Hsu for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I can't tell you how happy I am that Stephanie Hsu got nominated for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I first got to know her in the Aquafina show that is on HBO. Was it Queens of New York, or I forget what it's called, but we watched the first 2 seasons. She was hilarious. Then she had one of those AT&T commercials. She's the one that has the foam fingers and stuff. That's Stephanie Hsu doing that scene with Milena Vaintrub. And then boom, she shows up in Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I was just championing her in my mind to get a nomination for her performance in the movie. And she got a nomination for her performance in the movie. So I'm very happy for her. Jamie Lee Curtis, I knew was going to be nominated. But Stephanie Hsu, I was so hoping would get nominated. So I'm so glad that she did. And also Hong Chow, as I said, for The Whale. But Carrie Condon as well. I'm so happy for Carrie Condon. As a fan of Rome, I've been of that TV series from way back in the early 2000s that was on HBO. I was such a fan of Carrie Condon in that show. That was my first exposure to her. And every time I'd catch her and stuff, I would try to watch it because I'd be really supportive of her as an actress. And then she showed up as the voice of Friday in the Marvel universe. So it was great to see her, pad the bank account being in the MCU. And then when she showed up in Banshees of Inisherin, she is so good in this movie. She is fantastic in this film. So I was hoping the Academy wouldn't overlook her and kind of brush her off because they'd be caught up in trying to nominate Brendan Gleeson and nominate Colin Farrell and even maybe Martin McDonough and just forget about her. And I'm glad they didn't because she is stellar in the movie. You guys have to watch this film if you haven't watched it. It's on HBO Max right now. And she's great. She is so essential to that movie. She is the connecting piece between between the dissolving friendship between Brendan Gleeson's character and Colin Farrell's character, because she plays Colin Farrell's sister. And obviously she's known Brendan Gleeson for a long time in the town. And she's got her own journey that she's going. That's what's great about the movie and the writing of the character. She's got her own journey that she's going on. along with having to navigate or mediate this situation that's going on between the two guys. So I love that. So that when she makes the decision that she makes near the end of the movie, you're so 100% on board with her and championing her. And it's because Carrie's delivered such a soulful performance. And her scene with Barry Keoghan, which people have been posting, what a scene. A scene by the water that is just aching, heartbreaking, and heartful and heart aching when you're watching it. It's just fantastic what she brings to that in that moment when she's like rejecting him, but softly rejecting him and rejecting him from a place of actual care and not disgust. And so it's just walking that line is not easy. And to see the different levels she brings to it as now an older actress, it's just so much fun to see. So, just a big, big fan of Carrie Condon. And I'm happy that she got nominated. But yeah. Oh, yeah. Stephanie Hsu is also in Shang-Chi. You're right. I forgot about that. Stephanie Hsu is also in Shang-Chi. You're right about that. So we shall see what happens there. Lord of Darkness said just subbed to Apple TV just now. Dude, enjoy that. Lord of Darkness, let me tell you something. Apple TV right now is my favorite streamer. And I am considering starting a show on the channel that is just highlighting Apple TV stuff, Apple TV of the week or Apple stuff of the week, because they're generating such fantastic content, both TV wise in terms of series and also movies wise. They're just great at what they're creating there. And their batting percentage for me is very, very high. Slow Horses, the season 2 just finished up a couple weeks ago. That's an incredible series if you want to dive into that. Clay, if you're still watching, you haven't watched Slow Horses, brother, I can't recommend that to you enough. Watch Slow Horses. Fantastic performances all around from everybody in that little British espionage film with some dark humor, or series rather, with some dark humor and dark comedy. And the great Gary Oldman and the even greater Kristen Scott Thomas in that. And I have a thing for Kristen Scott Thomas there, Clay. All right, let's move on. Oh, yeah. So here's my snubs for Best Supporting Actress. In my opinion, as I mentioned, Janelle Monáe earlier for Glass Onion. I thought she should have been considered for a nomination here, but I don't know who I'd move off. Maybe Jamie Lee Curtis. I know that would hurt people's feelings. I know Jamie is an icon and all of that, but maybe I would move her off for Janelle Monáe. The other two, I think the two actresses in She Said, again, Carey Mulligan and Zoe Kazan. Zoe's essentially the lead, but not by much. So I could have seen them both being possibly considered for Best Supporting Actress. But Carey Mulligan has some stellar moments as she's dealing with postpartum depression, as she's dealing with coming back to work after dealing with the situation with her child being born. There's so much of that going on here. Whereas Zoe Kazan gets a little bit more of the bulk of having to have the one-on-ones with the people who are telling their stories about what happened to them at the hands of Harvey Weinstein. Carrie handles the legal stuff. She's certainly handling she's the senior reporter, so she's there making sure Zoe Kazan's character understands what she needs to do to bring this story home. So just great back and forth between both of them. Let's see if we want to jump into anything else here. Best Adapted Screenplay. Okay, sure. Best Adapted Screenplay, All Quiet on the Western Front, Glass Onion, Living, Top Gun Maverick, and Women Talking. So this is interesting, an interesting category as well. When you get All Quiet, obviously it's based on the book by Eric Remarque, I think is the author there. Glass Onion and Top Gun Maverick, both the Geek Buddies texted me and were wondering why those films got nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay. That's how it is in the Academy. When it's a sequel, it's automatically a Best Adapted Screenplay because you're using characters and storylines from stuff that was already established with an original screenplay. So therefore, it's considered adapting. As I said, I haven't seen Living, so I don't know how much that merits a Best Adapted Screenplay nomination necessarily. So I'm just kind of throwing that out there that I don't know too much about it. So I can't really comment on that particular thing. So, but just kind of, I think it's a good list of people. And I like there were some people that felt that other films should have been nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay in this category. And let me bring up some of those snubs for some people who maybe want to. Let's see here. Looking at the Gold Derby, do they have who they thought not nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay? Let me read some of those. The Whale, yeah, and She Said, absolutely. She Said should have been nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay as well. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, I absolutely could see that being nominated. I thought Pinocchio was incredible. Not that Zemeckis nonsense. The one with Tom Hanks, the one with the animated one on Netflix that is just stellar. Cannot recommend it enough. If you guys haven't seen it, you need to see it. It is fantastic. So that's one that should have been another one is Bones and All, which I have not seen, which I think is the vampire one with Chalamet. So I have not seen that one. So I don't know if it's worthy to be nominated. That I'll leave up to other people. Maybe some of you who are in the chat right now have seen Bones and All. Do you think it should have been nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay? Let me know. I'm open to hearing what you all think about that. If it should have been nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay, I'd be open to looking at it through that prism for sure. Anyway, all right, yeah, Pinocchio. Yeah, Pinocchio was a snub in score and song. Agreed for sure. Taylor Swift, was she snubbed in the best song category? Not in my opinion. I think what worked against her, to be honest with you, Adit, is that the film itself didn't catch on with anybody. Where the Crawdads sing, and I thought Amelia Jones was fantastic in the movie. The movie itself, though, was fine. It just wasn't great. And I think if it was great, that Taylor Swift song would have been a thing to elevate the film even more so, and I think it would have been nominated. But because the film kind of came and went, I think that's why the song wasn't up. Look, Taylor Swift, I know she's got the drawing power and she's the person of the moment, but even some things are subject to how long a film is around and how much of an impact the film makes. And in the end, that's where they went. So yeah. All right, let me take that down here. Let's see. Diane Warren is more fun. I named the it's true. Diane Warren, who I went back and forth with on Twitter, which was a lot of fun for sure behind the scenes. Yeah. All right, let's move on to best screenplay. I have that up here, don't I? Yeah, best original screenplay here. The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fablemans, Tar, Triangle of Sadness. Here is what's missing from best original screenplay, and let's see what you all think. Here are some of the nominations that were not made for best original. After Sun, which of course Paul Mescal was nominated for. The Menu. Babylon, no surprise that wasn't nominated. Decision to Leave, which I know is a favorite of Dan Murrell's. He talked about that when him and Christian hung out on that show on Christian's channel. And Close. A lot of people felt Close should have been nominated for best original screenplay as well. So just interesting decisions there. Babylon being shut out for the most part was a little bit of a surprise because that was a film that kind of celebrates Hollywood, even though it celebrates the hedonism of Hollywood. It still celebrates Hollywood. So seeing it not get too many nominations was a bit of a surprise. I know it's a divisive film. There are many people who defend it who are critics, and there are many people who hate it who are critics. So it's just an interesting film, but maybe it could have gotten a best original screenplay nomination. For sure. Let's see. Let's go to best cinematography right now. All Quiet on the Western Front. Bardo, which I'm very happy to see being nominated for best cinematography. Elvis, Empire of Light, and Tar. So Empire of Light, this is an interesting film here from Sam Mendes that it didn't any nominations. Olivia Colman didn't get nominated. The film itself didn't get nominated. I know Jeff Snyder is a big fan of Empire of Light, but it did not get nominated. So that is a bit of a conundrum on Jeff's side of things. But I thought the cinematography was interesting here. I was surprised. Let's bring that up again. I was surprised not to see Top Gun Maverick on this list. I thought Top Gun Maverick did an incredible job with their cinematography in that movie. Once again, I think the Academy was fine nominated for Best Picture, but didn't nominate for Best Director with Joseph Kosinski. Look, somebody directed that damn film and brought in $1.5 billion, okay, for a film that nobody expected to make $1.5 billion. It wasn't Tom Cruise directing the film. It was Joseph Kosinski. And I'm sure Tom Cruise influenced it, but it wasn't Tom Cruise directing the movie. So I think it should have gotten more respect on the director's side of things. But the cinematography, too, I mean, the designs of it all was just incredible. So I'm just really surprised it didn't get nominated for Best Cinematography. That's a bit of a surprise for me. Triple R probably should have. Let's see. Aaron says, take Elvis out and put in Top Gun. Maybe. But I thought, yes, this is 100% the truth. This is another snub, in my opinion. I would take the Batman over the Fablemans any day of the week and twice on Sunday, for God's sakes. That is a way better film than the Fablemans. I thought the cinematography should have been nominated for sure. But again, you're dealing with comic book movies, superhero movies, and the Academy sticks its nose up at those kinds of films. You couldn't possibly be telling a deep, interesting story that challenges us as a viewer. People are wearing tights. The same Academy that gave Shakespeare in Love Best Picture, where people were wearing tights and stuff. So it's just phenomenal to me how they delineate this kind of stuff and get snobbish about this kind of nonsense when there are some really incredible things being done in these comic book superhero movies that don't get any respect from the Academy, and it's a shame. It's an absolute shame. And I thought the Giacchino's score in the Batman should have been nominated as well, and it wasn't. That score is another element of the film. It's kind of like Benjamin Wolfish's score for The Invisible Man. Like, that movie isn't as powerful or as incredible without Wolfish's score. It's the same way I felt about Giacchino's score in the Batman. Without that score, it doesn't work. The film doesn't 100% work. So just kind of sad to see that happening in that situation there. Carla Giselle Mosqueda says, I would switch best adapted screenplay for cinematography in the case of Top Gun. Yeah, I could see that. I could absolutely see that for sure. I would 100% be okay with that as well. It wasn't, there were some great scenes in that movie, but it wasn't the dialogue that hooked me in. It was the performances, and it was definitely the cinematography and the way they shot that stuff in the air. Look, as cool as it is to shoot things on the ground and realistic, like, it's also pretty incredible to be able to take advantage of the medium of film and the cameras and the technology and deliver these phenomenal scenes in the air. So it was a shame that gets overlooked when the Academy is looking at these kinds of things. All right, let's take one more quick break, and then we'll jump into the last couple of categories and then roll on out of here. Thanks to everybody who's been on here for an hour and 6 minutes with me. Got 50 of you right now. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel and hit that bell button so you see when we're dropping these impromptu shows and other shows we got going on here on the channel as well. And we're right back right after this. All right, let's get into best original scores. We mentioned here, no Batman, All Quiet on the Western Front, Volker Bertelmann, Babylon, Justin Hurwitz, The Banshees of Inisherin, Carter Burwell, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Son Lux, and The Fabelmans again for John Williams. Look, John Williams is going to get nominated for The Fabelmans, so no surprise there. But I like the Justin Hurwitz get nominated for Babylon because I loved the music in Babylon. It was fantastic. Carter Burwell, I've been a fan of his since Miller's Crossing, when he did the score for that movie for the Coen brothers. He's a Coen brothers favorite, so to see him coming in and doing some stuff there for Banshees of Inisherin, I thought was great as well. Also, All Quiet, that Volker Bertelmann score, so great to see that being nominated. Loved that score. Such a great score. Really brings you into the mood of that film. As I said earlier at the beginning of this, it is a modernized score that fits, even though it's anachronistic, it fits within the time period that they are setting the movie and really brings the terror and the horror of that experience even more powerfully to life when you're watching the film. Who else is in here? Everything Everywhere. Yeah, Son Lux, great job with Everything Everywhere at Once. And what are you going to do? You're not going to knock out John Williams at 91 years old. You're not. Even though Giacchino deserves to get nominated, you're not going to knock out John Williams for his work there in The Fabelmans. You'd probably have to shoot people to get him to get that to make that happen, for God's sake. So just kind of interesting stuff to take a look at there. All right, let's see here. What else do we want to jump into before we wrap up here in just a few minutes? Did we do cinematography? We did screenplay. We did adapted. We did actress, score. Oh, animated feature film. Here we go. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. There, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, The Sea Beast, and Turning Red. So, love that Turning Red was nominated. And it came out last night that Disney had put it up on their graphics on their overnight Disney Plus account. If you saw the Turning Red banner, it said Academy Award nominated before the nominations had been announced. So clearly somebody at Disney had gotten the heads up that they were going to be nominated for Best Animated Feature Film. So that was a funny little moment. People talk in Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen. They all talk in Hollywood. So no surprise if people found out about this shit a little bit ahead of time. Haven't seen The Sea Beast, but I will make it my goal to see The Sea Beast Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, I'm going to see a little bit later on, either today or tomorrow. Now, I've seen Marcel the Shell with Shoes On twice and Pinocchio twice. I love both of those movies. I hope Pinocchio wins. I do think it was a crime it wasn't nominated for Best Song. I do think it was a crime that the score wasn't nominated. And I do think the film could have been considered for Best Picture, to be honest with you. It is that good of a movie. Listen, when they gave me this, I almost skipped out on the screening because I was like, oh, do I really want to see another Pinocchio adaptation? I love Guillermo, but is it really going to work? And is this going to be Crimson Peak or is it going to be The Shape of Water? What's it going to be, right? Those are my thoughts in my head. And then I went to see the film, and I was an absolute puddle by the end of the movie. An absolute puddle. Oh, this is going to get me in trouble. Nostalgia-wise, that 1940s Pinocchio film is fantastic and almost unbeatable. But this film matches it in different ways. The style of the animation, the score, the music, the voiceover performances from everybody involved is fantastic and touching and moving. Oh God, I forget the actor's name. Is it David Baker who plays Geppetto? His performance rather, and his voiceover work is just aching. How can I say this? It is achingly good. Like when you find out the story of why he's experiencing the things he's experiencing, why he's going through what he's going through, you're just so caught up in the emotion of it and the connection with Pinocchio. I was just lost in love with this movie and with this relationship, and how Guillermo and the other directors and production people were able to bring me into this movie so effectively with this new style of animation I've never seen before, and tell this story in a way that I've never seen before, and have me care for these characters in a way that I haven't cared for since I saw Pinocchio as a child. So it is so good. I cannot recommend it enough. It's on Netflix. Please, for the love of God, watch it. I have not seen the Sea Beast, so if some of you have seen the Sea Beast, let me know what you thought about it. But Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, what a great film. Jenny Slate doing the voice, and of course, her and her director, they came up with this whole thing. It was all based out of some, they created it for these little YouTube shorts that they were doing on YouTube. It got a life of its own. It became a book, and then boom, it became a feature film. And it is beautiful. It is just beautiful. It is uplifting. It is inspiring. It is touching. And it's gorgeous, just gorgeous in what it's and how it speaks about the human condition, even though it's a shell. And Isabella Rossellini as her grandmother. Man, the emotions, man. The emotions. There's so much emotion in both Pinocchio and Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Just incredible. I saw people getting upset that Apollo 10.5 wasn't nominated. I haven't seen that. I know it's on Netflix. I'm going to watch that. So I understand that people were not happy that it wasn't nominated. So I totally get that. But it's sometimes you got to make the cuts where you make the cuts. But I think, what would you take off? The 5 of these films, from what I understand, Sea Beast is incredible. And I loved Turning Red. I thought that was a great addition to the Pixar, to the recent Pixar movies and to the Pixar overall resume here. And I'm getting really kind of frustrated with some of these people trying to tell me Pixar isn't as good as it once was. It is fantastic. I loved Luca, loved Soul. I enjoyed Onward, and I loved Turning Red. So to me, I'm perplexed at how people are trying to tell me Netflix isn't as good as it once was. It's just different. It's changing with the times. You're not going to get Ratatouille now. You're not going to get those films, Toy Story, whatever. You're not going to get those films in Pixar's lexicon now. And I even liked Lightyear. So kiss my ass. I liked Lightyear. I know some critics passionate. I loved it. It moved me. I thought Chris Evans did a fantastic job as Lightyear in that film. So I just get kind of mystified at how people look at this whole thing. So, wait a second. Is there no Disney? Is there no Disney in this? Am I wrong on this? Is there any Disney, like straight Disney? I don't see any straight Disney. So, I mean, I know Pixar is there, but I don't see any straight Disney. Pixar is obviously an offshoot of Disney, but I don't see any straight Disney nominees. So very interesting to see how that's going to play itself out as well. All right, let's see here. I got one more Streamlab that came through here from Louis fan. Thank you, Louis. I appreciate that, man. He said, thanks for the stream. In my honest opinion, John Williams didn't deserve to get nominated. Wow. The score was fine, but nothing exceptional, even compared to anything else in his repertoire. I hate the style of the Pinocchio adaptation. I didn't like the Zemeckis either. Bro, I cannot disagree with you more about the style of the Pinocchio adaptation. I thought it was great. The Zemeckis one was horrible. And please don't ever watch the Roberto Benigni one. You'll hit yourself in the head with a hammer. John Williams didn't deserve to get nominated. Wow. I don't know if I can go that far. I'm not a score whore. I will say this: the score didn't like move me or become memorable for me, but it's John Williams, so I'm not surprised that he got nominated. There's no way they were going to deny John Williams a nomination when he's, so close to retiring and so close to possibly passing away. So why not? I just don't want the Academy to be caught up in this misty-eyed, nostalgia love for the past here that we see in the Fablemans and have Fableman sweep. If Fableman sweeps, I'm going to be so frustrated. Sadly, not surprised, but super frustrated at the whole situation. And we'll see. But just to wrap up here, let me go through them each and give you my predictions. And I know we'll do that with Jeff as well, probably on the hot mic. But I think Everything Everywhere All at Once or Top Gun Maverick is the choice here for Best Picture. Although All Quiet on the Western Front, I don't know, man. Came out of nowhere, 9 nominations. Maybe it could pull a shocker on that night because they didn't give it in 1917. They gave it to Parasite that night in 2019. So who knows if maybe All Quiet gets the job done. But I think it's going to be Everything Everywhere All at Once, even though Jeff doesn't think enough people are going to see it. Because I'd be real surprised if they gave it a Top Gun Maverick. I'd be very happy if they gave it a Top Gun Maverick, but I'd be real surprised. With Best Actress, obviously it's between Michelle Yeoh and Cate Blanchett. I'll say Michelle Yeoh, although I think Cate Blanchett might squeak it out. Best Director, I think they'll give it to the Daniels, but don't be surprised if Spielberg gets himself the win here, even though West Side Story is a way better film and he deserved Best Director for that much more than this film, The Fablemans. I already did that. Best Supporting Actor, yes. Ke Huy Quan is the odds-on favorite. I don't see anybody beating him. Original Screenplay, maybe this is where The Banshees of Inisherin wins, I think, for Screenplay. Best Cinematography, they'll probably give it to Elvis. It would shock the hell out of me if they give it to Bardo, but they might give it to Elvis. But don't count out All Quiet on the Western Front. But my pick is Elvis, probably. Best Supporting Actress, it's going to be Angela Bassett. But, Best Supporting Actress, you guys know, has always been a weird category in the Academy. Shocks and surprises all around. So don't be surprised if Carrie Condon or even Hong Chow slides in and surprises everybody and takes this. But I think it's Angela Bassett's, but you never know with Best Supporting Actress. Need I say Marissa Tomei? Adapted Screenplay, All Quiet on the Western Front, Glass Onion, Living, Top Gun Maverick, Women Talking. I think they'll give it to Women Talking here. I think that's where Sarah Polley is going to get her Oscar because they want to encourage her to keep going. She's an up-and-coming filmmaker, obviously being an actress and also transitioning the last few years into being filmmaking. So I wouldn't be surprised if she takes it. Best Original Score. Maybe Banshees of Inisherin or Everything Everywhere. No, it might be John Williams, right? No, I don't want to say that. I want to give the Academy more credit than that. And I want to say the Banshees of Inisherin or Everything Everywhere All at Once, but I will go with Banshees of Inisherin. Even though I think All Quiet on the Western Front, that's my personal favorite, but I don't think they'll go with All Quiet on the Western Front. Best Animated Feature, I think Pinocchio is going to win that. I don't think anything is going to come close. Unless Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, which everybody seems to love, comes in and pulls a Spider-Verse and shocks the world and wins Best Animated. But I think it's going to be Pinocchio. And have we done? Oh, and Best Actor. Yeah, I think it's going to be Brendan Fraser. But, you never know with Colin Farrell, but I think it is going to be Brendan Fraser. Don't forget that it was Austin Butler who won the Golden Globe. So is the Lisa Marie Presley aspect of it all maybe going to influence some voters to slide towards Austin Butler when they would have slid towards Brendan Fraser? And as I said, some of the backlash against The Whale, which I think is unfounded and absolutely incorrect, could cost Brendan Fraser in the long run. We saw that happen with Russell Crowe with A Beautiful Mind. we've seen that happen with other actors and other films where the backlash kind of buries it. Or was it no? Was it no? It wasn't Beautiful Mind. Was it Cinderella Man? Cinderella Man, where people are like, "That's not a true story," or they're not telling the real thing that happened. So it can affect you in the long run. So we shall see. Spider Verse was shocking, Louis, not to the people who were into the film, but a lot of the industry insiders. And don't forget, Sony didn't campaign for this. Amy Pascal didn't campaign for this. It was a grassroots campaign of fans loving the movie that put it in the mix. Don't be retconning here. Nobody anticipated Spider-Verse winning until everybody started to see it more and more. And there was a groundswell of social media support. When the groundswell of social media support happened, that's when Sony got on board and started creating a campaign for Spider-Verse. They were quite happy to let that thing just make money at the box office and fall away. They did not anticipate that it would win Best Animated Feature. A lot of us thought so, but no, a lot of people didn't think so. So all right. I think that's it. Let's see if there's any more Streamlabs. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining me. I appreciate you all hanging out with me live. 150 is still hanging out. Please remember to hit that like button on this video and leave a comment down below. If those of you who are watching later, leave a comment down below. Who do you think is going to win? Who do you think was snubbed? Do you think I'm crazy with some of my opinions on some of these films? Let me know. Or do you support me? God forbid you might support and agree with me. Let me know down in the comment section below. Remember, I am a Rotten Tomatoes Tomato Meter certified critic, and I am a board member on the Hollywood Critics Association. So I am voting for these awards. I am getting closer to hopefully one day becoming an Academy member and actually voting on these films. Wouldn't that be something? So just if you want to support, please do that. And if you want to support the Outlaw Nation channel as a whole and love what we're doing here, head on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/John Rocha, and see all the multiple tiers and the benefits that you get for supporting us here on the channel. And most of all, subscribe down below. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button. Try to get to 50,000 subscribers by December 31st of 2023. Can I do it? Will I do it? Help me do it by subscribing down below. I would appreciate it. Follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The Outlaw Nation on Twitch. And at the end of the day, here's the deal. We can battle, we can fight, we can argue, we can debate, we can get into it with each other. But be respectful and always respect the medium of film, because I love it, and it has paid me back tenfold over the last few years as I've built this career and stumbled backwards into it and been able to find a home with all of you on the nation, on the Outlaw Nation, and all of you out there on the multiple shows that I've been on in the past for numerous different outlets and all the shows that I do now. And I say now today, for some of you who may not know this, we announced today the end of the top 10. We are shutting down the top 10 at the end of February. If you haven't seen that announcement, we announced it today during the show today. So we will do a final live show of the top 10. Speaking of film, we'll do a final live show of the top 10 in the last week of February. We'll let you know the time, and it'll be on YouTube. It'll be at night, so more people can join us to say goodbye to that show that has been a part of my life for 8 years. So a day of a lot of change. And also, if you want to see me talking wrestling, I am on Out of Character today on WWE on Fox with Ryan Satin, giving our predictions for the Royal Rumble that's happening this weekend. So go and watch that on YouTube. Go to the WWE on Fox account there on YouTube and watch the video. It should be up now. They had to re-upload the intro, so it should be up now for you all to enjoy. All right, that's everything that's going on in my world. Thank you very much. Don't forget about the Cinephiles. We got our season of Quentin Tarantino happening this Friday, so our conversation about Quentin Tarantino will drop this Friday with a lot of guests coming in to drop their points of views on Quentin Tarantino as well. And then we'll be breaking down Reservoir Dogs and Django Unchained. Those will be the films that we're going to be taking a look at here on the Cinephiles. All right, y'all take care of yourselves. Be well, and I'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of The Nation. And don't forget to enjoy the Oscars. I'll probably do a live watch along like I did last year on March 12th there on ABC. And y'all be well. Take care of yourselves. Peace.